It was mid-afternoon on September 17, 1862, 157 years ago, that the 23rd Ohio Volunteer Infantry finally got into action. Hi, I'm Dan Welch with Emerging Civil War, and today I'm going to bring you the story of just one soldier's experience in the Battle of Antietam all of those years ago. Now, the 23rd Ohio Volunteer Infantry had been through quite an ordeal over the last week leading up to the Battle of Antietam. Not only had the marches been tedious over the last several days, but they had sustained heavy casualties at the Battle of South Mountain on September 14, 1862. Not only that, but because of wounds received in action and a shift in command, the leadership of the unit would devolve all the way down upon a major on September 17, 1862. As the Battle of Antietam would unfold in the almost pre-dawn hours of September 17th, it would be still a half a day away before the men of the 23rd Ohio Volunteer Infantry would get into action. These men, part of Ewing's brigade of the Kanawha Division of the 9th Corps, would eventually receive orders from Ambrose Burnside to get across Antietam Creek and towards Robert E. Lee's imperiled flank. But the men of the 23rd would not be part of the main assaulting force going across what today is known famously as Burnside's Bridge. These men would be part of a small force that would be selected to go further downstream to find a ford to get across Antietam Creek and begin to work towards Lee's flank. Finally, locating a location to cross known as Snavely's Ford, the men of the 23rd Ohio and the rest of the flanking unit that would be sent on that mission would get across and would await for the rest of their command to make their way across the bridge before pushing forward. Orders would finally be received, and the men of the 23rd would surge ahead with the rest of those of the 9th Corps that were participating in this assault on Lee's flank. The 23rd Ohio, under the command of Major Comley, would finally make their way towards a stone wall where they would stop. Comley would look off to his left flank and see a line of what appeared to be Union soldiers in fresh, bright blue Union uniforms. And so, calmly thinking nothing of it, would continue on focusing on the battle ahead. Unfortunately, these men were not friendly. These were soldiers that had captured these uniforms in Harper's Ferry just days earlier. A.P. Hill's men were finally on the battlefield. It was not long before A.P. Hill's men, dressed in the Union blue, would open fire into the ranks of the 23rd Ohio Volunteer Infantry. This fire that they would receive in the flank and in the rear would be devastating. But these men would continue to stand their ground. An order, although would be spread along the line to pull out, never reached the 23rd, and they continued to deal with the fire into their flank, changing front to deal with the new threat. Finally, their divisional command would send an order down to pull them back from the battlefield itself. But by the time they made their way back to safety, as the Battle of Antietam was coming to a conclusion, 20% of the 23rd Ohio had become casualties on the battlefield, killed, wounding, missing, and captured. Today in 2019, there are much more famous members of the 23rd Ohio Volunteer Infantry, future presidents like William McKinley and Rutherford B. Hayes. But just one of the men that participated in that fight on September 17th was a man by the name of Charles Long from Poland, Ohio, a small village not far from the Pennsylvania border. Long, who had been born in December of 1839, was just 22 years of age when he joined the 23rd Ohio just several blocks away when he mustered in at the Old Stone Tavern. He would be with the unit through thick and thin until he would be mortally wounded on September 17, 1862. Long would initially be buried on the Antietam battlefield, and upon creation of the Antietam National Battlefield, his remains would be removed and reinterred there. His parents, although that they had been well established in the community of Poland for approximately the last 13 years, took the death of their son incredibly hard. They would erect a cenotaph to him standing here off behind me. But it was not enough for them to deal with their grief. They would leave the place that they had called home for more than a decade. They would pack their family up and move to Kansas, where the family would continue to reside in the post-war years. Charles Long's story is just one of the many stories of September 17, 1862. Stories of nearly 23,000 men that would become casualties of America's bloodiest day.